Okay, today we're here, me, Mr. Beers, the instructor, and Luke as our demonstrator. We're going to go over the safety for the joiner today. Again, we have our PowerPoint presentation over here, which will be able to be viewed online, along with this video for the safety. Again, we're just after the focus of operating this machine safely and effectively. And again, as stated before with the miter saw, we just want to make sure that the equipment is clean and the environment's clean to keep us in a safe working manner. All right, we're just going to flip through. Now this PowerPoint was created by Luke, and he did a really good job here, so we're just going to go through this. All right, and let's see, it creates a perfectly flat surface. So what does it do? It creates a perfectly flat surface, either on the face of the board or on the edge of the board. All right, so who's going to hold the board up here? And he's going to show us where the face of the board is, which is right here in front. Okay, and then it says, so we can actually, it's called face joining the board. All right, and then of course the edge of the board. Yeah. Okay, and we can actually also joint the edge, face. We can actually end grain. Excuse me, I had to remember the term. We can end grain the board also, which actually is not a preferred process, but it is possible to do. In this demonstration, thanks, Anthony.
What?
We'll work around him. So, all right. In this demonstration, I probably won't grab another board and do a end joint, but do keep in mind that it is possible. And if we do need to do that, just ask me at some point, and we'll make sure that happens. Yeah, we'll work around the noise. All right. Luke has all kinds of cool things going on here. The method. A wood board is laid on the workspace, and carefully led through the infeed of the circular machine saw to make sure of the straight edge. Use a guide. Okay. So basically, what it's stating there is we are going to lay the board down. If we're going to do a face joint, we'll lay it down on the surface. Okay. It will be fed through the machine off of the infeed table. Okay. Through to the outfeed table in a non-forcing manner. Okay, and of course we use a straight edge also against the fence of the joiner as we go. All right, okay, we'll flip through the next one here. Okay, the diagram of the parts. All right, Luke's going to point us out the parts here. I'll just kind of talk about them. All right, the first part we have, usually I start from the top. We'll start from the bottom this time, Luke. We're going to go with the on-off switch way at the bottom. You can show us where that's at. Okay, and we have a really nice on-off switch on this one. It has a big stop pad, so we can get this thing stopped in case of some type of an issue. All right, so it is there, and it's really nice and handy. All right, we come up, or actually the stop switch is attached to the base. Okay, so Luke, point to the base there. The base is the whole thing. Okay, so the whole thing is the base. All right, and then of course our joiner head unit is on top of the base. That's the whole piece on top, the whole thing. Whole thing, yeah, that whole thing. Okay, joiner top surface. All right, okay. Down right above the stop switch, so the camera may need to get down quite a ways there. There is a wheel. You see the wheel down below? Yep. Luke's pointing to the wheel. Okay, there's an adjustment wheel. And there's one actually on the infeed table, and there'll be one on the outfeed table, both. All right, those wheels should not at any point probably be adjusted unless you notice something not correct. Then you'd want to talk to me about it, and we can make adjustments for that. All right, out in front of the joiner, and I call the front the spot where Luke is standing. This is in front of. Okay. Yep, out in front. Go over just a little bit further there, Luke. There's some little hand knobs. Go over and put your hand on the hand knobs. There we go. Those are locking knobs, and we make sure that we probably don't adjust those at any given point in time unless you talk to me, the instructor. All right, those just lock those in-feed and out-feed tables in place so that we again, they're not adjusted as we're operating the machine. Okay? Luke's going to point to the right table. Yep, the table right there that the board's sitting on. That is our in-feed table. Okay, and then he's going to go to the left table. That one there, which is our out-feed table. All right. The out-feed table, which is the one Luke is at, actually stays in adjustment with the height of the blade. Okay. The in-feed table, which I'll come back to over here. There we go. That one there is able to be adjusted to different depth of cuts. The depth of cut we want to go with is actually a 1/16 of an inch, which is what the joiner should be set at all times. All right, I know it says close to a 1/4 inch there, but that little gauge is slightly off. So we take about 1/16 of an inch. All right, now up above the in-feed, out-feed tables, we have the blade guard. Yep. Okay, that blade guard needs to be in operation at all times. If there's any issue with it, you make sure you talk to me, the instructor, will make sure it gets fixed. All right, Luke, go ahead and open up that blade guard again, if you would, please. All right, and you see there the blades. There is a 3-blade cutting bit. Okay, and they're a long bar type cutting blade. Actually, those blades were just replaced, so they are very sharp. This thing does take off when it takes lumber off a piece of wood, or wood chips off a piece of lumber. It does take them off in basically like chips. So again, we want to be very careful with our machine operation to make sure we don't get fingers or anything like that stuck in this machine. All right. Okay, above that would be our fence. Go ahead and point the fence, Luke. Thank you. All right, that's our fence. Our fence, about 90% of the time, we want to make sure it's square to the table of the joiner. All right. Back behind that, there is a handle, a little D handle. Yep, right there's a little chrome handle. That little chrome handle, if Luke goes ahead and he adjusts that, so go ahead and loosen that up, Luke. Okay, that little handle there, if it's loosened, will allow the fence to actually move at a taper. Okay, you just got to throw it. Okay, there's also a little locking device on the other side that you take and you twist it. Alright, and then it stays unlocked. It will allow us to take and adjust the table, right? Or the fence, excuse me. Okay, adjust the fence to the table. Alright, now, you can make angled cuts, which would be a cut that we talked about on the miter saw. But again, in most cases, again, about 90% of the time, we're going to just make a nice, flat, straight edge, right? So you really don't have to adjust that fence in any way, shape, or form. But what we want to do is we want to make sure we take a square, okay, so a wood shot square. We take that and we want to make sure that our fence is actually square with the table. Okay, and I'll do it first and then I'll allow you to do it. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to hold the larger edge against the flat surface of the table. This is the out-feed table of the joiner. All right, and then you want to take and you want to adjust the fence in and out so that we actually don't see any light running all the way up and down the ruler of the square. Okay, and once we see no light, then we want to take and tighten that chrome handle. Okay, and put our little locking device back in place. All right. Now, since Luke is the demonstrator, and I kind of took the glory from him, we're going to see how well Luke does with adjusting. Go ahead, Luke. Okay, so he's going to hold that. He's going to adjust the kind of. There you go. So that there's no light in between. And then he's going to go ahead and he's going to tighten down the. There you go. Chrome handle. And then turn the little locking device in place. Perfect. Okay. All right, now this machine has a part that is on back order. All right, that at some point should show up, and we'll make sure it's installed on this joiner. But at this point, what we have to do is grab ourselves the largest screwdriver. Okay, over in the tool cabinet, which isn't the most ideal process, but it's what works now, and that's what we have to do. Okay, we're going to take this, we're going to put it in this, come around the back side there. We're going to take the screwdriver and put it down in this spindle of the actual fence itself. Okay, and if Luke takes a hold of that and he spins it counterclockwise, all right, what it's going to do is it's going to loosen up the whole fence mechanism of the joiner, and he's going to be able to take this fence and he's going to be able to move it back and forth over top of the cutter head. Okay, and the reason we want to do that is you see our board is only about, what, 3/4 of an inch thick? Okay, if we run this 3/4 of an inch thickness over top of the blade continuous times over and over and over again, what's it going to do at that one spot of that blade?
Dull it.
It's going to dull it. We want to make sure that the whole blade goes dull evenly, right?
Yeah.
So to do that, we need to make sure we move this fence side to side. And what's going to happen is if Luke's at this joiner running a board through, okay, and then I want to come through and operate the joiner right after him, I'm going to make sure that I shut the machine down, right? I loosen up the adjustment of the fence, and I move it to a different spot so my board goes through a different spot on the blade. Okay? We do have a 7-inch blade on this, and we showed the blades. We didn't talk about the size, but they are a 7-inch blade. Alright, which gives us a lot of space to be able to move a board across. Alright, so Luke's going to go ahead and he's going to grab a hold of that screwdriver. He's going to turn it counterclockwise there. Camera come around, there you go. There you go, that's good. That's far enough. Okay, and then he's going to grab a hold of the fence up here. And you're going to be able to slide it forward and back, see that? There you go. And all the way back is fine for now. That'll work right there. And he's going to lock it in place. And leave the screwdriver right there. Okay? So every time, again, a new person comes, we loosen that up, we slide it over, run the board through on a new spot. We're set to go. Alright? Any questions, guys, on that part? Pretty self-explanatory? Good? Okay, let's go on to more safety here. Camera can probably come back over this way. Excellent. Alright. Okay, before we use the joiner, we want to read the owner's manual. The nice thing for you guys is I'm here to teach you the safety, so and of course if you watch the video or you see the PowerPoint, it's already taught. So we'll leave out the owner's manual, but if you do have questions, it's a good place to go. Make sure you understand instructions before attempting to use the machine. Again, you want to make sure you understand everything. If you don't, talk to me about it. Learn the applications and limitations before use. Okay, obviously the limitations are we don't want to force the piece of equipment, we want to allow it to cut. If we have good blades, it's going to happen, right? Okay. Okay, we want to check some certain things. Are the knives set for the proper clearance and depth cut? Are they sharp, balanced, and fastened securely? Good place to go to find that out is to come talk to me about it. I'll tell you whether the blades are sharp or not. They were just replaced, so they're good to go. Luke, on the other hand, is going to check the depth of cut. And what he wants to do is, and you don't have to bring the camera over this way, but there is a little, you're okay there. There's a little gauge out in front of the infeed table, and you want to make sure that gauge reads somewhere between an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch cut. Alright, and then we're set to go. So does it do that, Luke? We're set there? Excellent. Is the fence anchored in the proper position? Luke just adjusted that, we're set to go, right? Excellent. Can the guards swing their overhead, move freely, and return over the cutter head? We attempted it already, we're set to go, right? Is the equipment properly lubricated? We keep this equipment waxed. Main thing is it gets waxed on top. There really is no grease certs or anything like that, so at this point it should be no doubt about it in proper running order. Are the parts of the accessories in proper working condition? Yes, everything but our back ordered part, right? Not most ideal, but it is what it is. Okay. Safety steps. And I didn't say this with the miter saw, and I apologize for leaving that out, but definitely we want to wear our safety glasses, right? Because this thing's going to throw wood chips. We don't want to lose any eyes when we do this. Wear hearing protection. Hearing protection is a possibility. If you do want to have that, I do have that available. Make sure you talk to me about it, right? Wear protective footwear when operating. most definitely your footwear is good, because what can happen is you could drop a board and you know, hit your foot. If you're wearing like what do they call them, flip-flop sandals, whatever they call them these days, you could injure your foot. We don't want that to happen. Okay, allow only experienced and trained personnel to operate joiners and planers. Luke will be a experienced, trained operator at the end of this. Use only sharp, balanced, and jointed knives, which we have. Replace old square cutting heads with round heads that are, well, I don't understand that one. Go on from there. That one could have been left out. We'll fix that. Ensure the start and stop buttons are within easy use, and we're located right down here underneath, right? It's nice and big, so we're set to go. Make sure the guard pushes beside the stops as it passes over the cutting head, and that the when the stock is removed. So we'll do that when we operate the motor itself. When we're pushing it through, we're going to make sure it opens up and then it swings shut afterward, right? If not, we obviously need to make some adjustment. Remove all wrenches and tools that are set on the table itself. Now, the screwdriver can stay in place. It's not going to come out of there, right? What do we definitely want to remove from here? Excellent. So Lucy's going to take it. You can actually set it, if no one over there, or on the piece of equipment behind you would be okay, or also over on a table. Biggest thing is so that you don't forget to put it away, right? Excellent. Provide a minimum clearance of 3, let's see. We just want to make sure that I think what we're talking about there is the length of stock that we want to run through this joiner. We want to run at least a 10-inch board. And the reason I say that is when we get over to the surfacer, which will be later on for safety, our board needs to be at least 10 inches to go through that. Okay, so a 10-inch board is what we want to go through this. All right, our width of board we want to make sure is at least 2 inches wide. Okay, so a 2-inch wide board. Construct hold down push blocks in order to send a board through this. Now, if we're under that 2-inch, or actually if we're right around that 2-inch width for our board, it's actually not safe, because what is our safety margin going to be, Luke? Same as the miter saw was. Remember the distance away?
4 inches.
4 inches. So we're going to want to make sure our hands are 4 inches away from that cutter head. If we're 2 inches, our hands going to be 4 inches away?
Nope.
Absolutely not. So then what we want to do is we want to use push sticks or push blocks. Now I'm going to have the camera kind of follow me, and I'm going to go grab those. Okay, they're actually located. We'll locate them in a different spot, but for now they're up here on our ductwork. And we want to grab a couple of push sticks and then a push block. Okay. Alright, Luke actually isn't going to run our push block. Our push block is for when we face joint. We have something to keep our hands up and out of the way of the board and allow us to push the board through the cutter head, right? So the push block. Excellent. We'll make sure that goes away. Okay, our push sticks will be if we have a board that's less than 4 inches away from our cutter head. We can use one push stick up in front and use another push stick behind to help push the board through. Okay, at this point Luke isn't going to need these two devices, alright, because this board is actually larger than 4-inch width, so we're safe to run it through just by hand. Alright, now what you want to make sure you do when you're using the rear push stick, you don't want to drop your knuckles down, okay, because if you go like, what would this be, horizontal?
Yep.
Okay, if you go horizontal with the board, okay, you can see that your knuckles get closer to the cutter heads as it gets over there, and you could catch your knuckles in. So you want to make sure that the push stick stays up and out of the way. Okay, as you use these. Questions on these? Good to go? Okay. Alright, so let's see. Push blocks and push sticks. It says here, maintain an adequate amount of downward and forward force with push blocks as the cutter heads are cutting. Now, you want to make sure you do that, number one, not with just the push blocks or push sticks, but also with your hands as you're pushing the board through. Okay, what we don't want to do is just kind of sort of be holding the board. What can happen is the cutter head can grab it and it'll throw it backwards, right? Okay, so we want to make sure we're holding on to the board as we're pushing the board through. Okay, stock should always be supported against the tables and the fence. Alright, so your piece of lumber always against the table and always against the fence. Never free-handed through. Alright? Never leave while the machine is running. Excellent safety tip. Alright, same thing with the miter saw, but typically if you let go of the handle, it shuts off anyways. This thing here, if we don't actually push the stop button, it will continue running. We want to make sure we don't leave it while it's running. Okay? Never make the adjustments to the machine while it is running. Alright, so make sure if we adjust the table or the fence or anything, again, we're shutting the machine off and it's not running. Oh, quick question here for you, Luke. If we shut the power off to the machine, does that necessarily mean it's not running?
No.
No, because it's still spinning, right? So the biggest thing is we want to make sure it's not spinning. Okay, never place hand over the cutter head unless protected by a push stick or a push block. Now, again, as we're pushing this board through, what Luke's going to do is he's going to have one hand in front, okay, and he's going to keep it up high on the board. He's going to have the other hand at the back helping push through, keeping that high also. All right, as he gets over the cutter head, he's going to take his one hand off, still supporting it with the other, just for a split second, go back around the blade, back on the board itself, pushing through. Once our back hand gets by the blade, again, we take off our hand, continue pushing with our front hand, and then come back afterward. Make sense? That way our hand is not going over top of that blade at any given point in time. All right? Oh, here we go. On the PowerPoint it says a minimum length of 11 inches. We're going to go by with what Luke has. So I'm going to change my 10 inches to 11 inches. That's good. Alright. Do not join stock with loose knots or splits. Okay, so for instance, on this board here, right, this one here actually doesn't have any good knots. Let me show a sample of some knots. Hopefully I can find one here. Alright, if we were to join this board here, we would actually have a knot right here. Alright, if that was on the end, that's where like a branch grew out of the tree. Okay, if that was here towards the edge of the board, we want to make sure that we don't joint this through there, or we make sure if it's loose, alright, we knock it out and then we're safe to join it through. Alright, so we want to be careful of those things. The other thing is metal, right? Always check our board over for any metal. Should have said that at the miter saw too. Make sure you check it over. Check depth of the cut by